Hey, everybody, we got a great podcast coming up for you today. My guest is Anthony Pedicini, owner, manager, partner at SIMwins Political Consulting out of Tampa. He was my political consultant when I ran for office. We talked to Anthony today about a whole lot of things, including how you hire a consultant, what you look forward into a consultant, importance of polling, the reliability of them. So if you're interested in campaigning and the nuts and bolts of a campaign, that's really what we got into today. And I hope you'll take a listen because it was fun to record and it was fun to do. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to Todd's podcast. We've got a great episode for you today. Our guest is a friend of mine. We met 15, 20 years ago. His memory is better than mine because he's 20 years younger than me. His name is Anthony Pedicini. He is a political consultant, and I was introduced to Anthony by Wayne Waters, a mutual friend, and when I decided I was going to run for county commission. And Wayne said, you need to meet this guy. You were a young upstart, not that young, but you had a lot of success early in your life, and our personalities just clicked, and you clicked with my son, Jacob. So we're going to talk about the world of political consulting, kind of our dynamic when I decided to get in the race, what he did for me, what he does for other candidates, a little bit about his company. And so that's kind of how we're going to start. So welcome, Anthony. Welcome to Todd's podcast.
Thanks for having me on Todd's podcast.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here. His voice sounds really good, doesn't it? It must be early in the morning before late at night.
I told you, my mom told me I have a face with a microphone. Don't go on TV.
Your mom's a very smart woman. I've always liked her. Tell us a little bit about your company and what the name of it is, who you are with the company, and what you do.
Sure. I own a consulting company with a gentleman named Thomas Piccolo called SIMwins. We do political consulting for candidates and companies, primarily in Florida, but in other places around the country. We're basically hired guns. If you want to run for office, you call us and say, hey, I want to be dog catcher of Smithtown. And we say, okay, well, there's 20,000 votes that you need to get to win. Here's the strategy we would use. Here's how much the budget should be. Here's the laws on how to raise money where you're running. And we set that table for you so that as a candidate, it's easier for you to focus on the two things that candidates should focus on: getting votes and then raising money. And then we kind of try to handle everything else around that. And, when Wayne introduced us back in the day, you come from a political family.
Yep.
And arguably one of the political dynasties in this county. No, seriously. And I think it was interesting for me as a guy in his late 20s to meet you and then to meet your brother and then your other brother and your whole family.
Right.
And say, well, I'm kind of now a part of this Dantzler dynasty. And I remember on our first couple meetings, and this speaks to what we do.
Right.
You were as green as the shoot on a maple tree. I mean, you were just green, and you had great instincts, but the fundamentals of how to ask for money and when to ask for money, or how to ask for an endorsement and why we ask for endorsements, you had to learn that on the go. And I remember we were 6 months in, and we were at the old office,
right,
on that long table where your brother liked to talk for hours and hours. And I hope he's not listening to this.
My brother Rick.
Yeah, your brother Rick.
Yeah.
And I looked at you dead across the table because you had said something that was just like right on the money, and I forget what it was, but I said, man, Dantzler, you just got your sea legs. And after that, the campaign was like a rocket ship, and you raised a ton of money, and it really the race. I don't know if you felt this way, but I did. The race for your county commission race became fairly simple as we got toward the end of June, because you had figured out some of the things that I had known for a long time, either about yourself or about the fundamentals of campaigning. And people like me who do this for a living. And I think you would find this to be true on the real estate side.
Right.
We're hired to do a job. We're experts at what we do. You should hire us, and then we give you advice, and you get to make the final decision. But sometimes we forget what we know because, you've never done it before.
Correct.
So we have to slow ourselves down and be like, okay, wait a minute. I'm on step Q. We need to go back to A. And,
right.
And I'm very guilty of that with a lot of our clients. And I just jump right in. I'm 100 miles an hour right away, and
right.
I'm at Q, and you're looking at me like, wait a minute, how did you get there?
Right.
And so that's kind of a challenge, having done this now for so long. But, not to really go into the politics side of it, but, the politics side of it has changed since you ran.
Right.
And we're all targets. I'm a target. I'm not on the ballot yet. I'm a target. What I do and say is a target for my clients, which I think is crazy, but it's the truth. And in the age of Donald Trump and hyper-partisanism, everything you say is scrutinized.
Right.
And will be used against you at some point. And we didn't have to do this in your race, but one of the things I became known for early on as a younger guy was being not just being able to use things that were true and educating voters on the other person. People call that negative campaigning. But
yeah, you really pissed off my older brother with one piece you produced for me.
So we kind of made a niche market, excelling at that type of thing. And if it's true, it's fair. And I've said that for years. If you want to run for office and you have a bankruptcy or a drug arrest or things like that in your life, it's going to come out. And maybe you shouldn't run for office if you don't want people to know about that, because I think those things speak to who you are.
But if you want a totally pure candidate, they're not out there. No. Everyone's got a wart somewhere or another. And if there's not the ability to provide context as to why this person did that or said that, that's what turns people off of it. And I think as long as it's such an unpleasant experience, and mine wasn't all that unpleasant. There was parts of it that I didn't like. But if it's such an unpleasant experience, you're going to stop getting people that you really need to be making decisions. They're going to say, I don't feel like putting myself through that.
And that's exactly where I was getting. In this age and day and age, it's gotten so over the top.
Right.
And we've actually slowed a lot of that down. But
have?
Yeah, for sure. Like, the true it's fair moniker thing, you can't embellish somebody's arrest. You go to court and they sue you for libel and slander. You have to make sure everything is buttoned tight, real tight. So everything goes to legal review. Everything is, and by the way, if it's over the top now, people don't believe it. Because of the social media, the 24/7 news cycle, texting and campaigns we didn't have when you ran. People can respond instantaneously with, well, here's the facts, here's the police report, here's what really happened. So you really have to have this stuff buttoned up. But it really has created an environment where good people who have great backgrounds, who, like you said, may have a small problem back 100 years ago, don't want to run. And so instead of getting the best person from the community for your mayor or for your city councilman or heck, your congressman, you get not the best person. And I think the entire process suffers as a result. But thus is the nature of the world that we're in.
But don't you play a part in that?
I play a part as much as people want me to play. We're consultants.
Right.
I mean, you've had bad deals in real estate. I've had bad deals in campaigns. I think it's a very great analogy, what you do for your clients, what we do for ours. Very different work, clearly, but similar in the fact that, when you do a deal, if you give your client bad advice as to the purchase price or what the property could be used for, what the zoning may be with your background, that could cost them millions of dollars, maybe their life savings, maybe put them on the street. Ours cost them their race, could cost them their reputation. They may have to move out of town, but very similar. I think that's a great analogy.
But I think ultimately the candidate is responsible.
But the candidate is ultimate. It's their name.
They've got to understand that is they can't let the consultant run everything. They've got to be that barometer that says, I'm not doing that. I'm okay doing this, but I'm not doing that. And you were always very respectful of me when I said, I don't feel comfortable doing that. It's okay, we won't do it.
Yeah, and that's got to be the rule, because at the end of the day, we're just consultants and we have clients, and we don't work with you. We don't work for you. We work with you as you work with your clients. But there has to be a boss, and the boss is the one whose name is on the ballot.
Right.
And what I think a lot of people...
And candidates need to understand that is ultimately you say yes or no to the information you put forward.
And I think candidates do understand that. I think the people who don't understand that are these crazy activists who want to blame everybody but the people that they can't blame. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So, there are these people running around now doing these social media shows, and they're like, oh, so-and-so has gotten $40 million from the Republican Party, and they do all these evil things all around the state. They're evil. It's like, no, that's not how this works. The true fact of the situation that we're in now in politics, especially in the state of Florida, and more so in states like Georgia and Pennsylvania and purple states that matter in the presidential race, is that these things cost millions of dollars. In a district where you have an even registration, where a Democrat can win, in order to convince independents who are reticent to vote for anybody anyway to come across to our side, you have to bombard them with ads, TV, mail, text, and then they may not even come out. So that being the case, you can't cut money out of politics, because who's going to pay for the TV? Who's going to pay for the stamp costs what it costs?
Right.
The TV station charges what it charges, and we help candidates work through all that. I mean, that's what we do. But it's just the nature of where we are today.
What makes a good candidate then?
You know, that was the easiest question I think that you could have asked me, because I'll use you as an example. You were a great candidate.
Get ready to cut this, Eli, if it gets dicey.
No. You were a great candidate. So Richard Corcoran, the former Speaker of the Florida House, had a rating for candidates, and he did it on a grade system, and A through F. And he said, "Is the candidate like the community they represent?" You got an A. Can the candidate raise money? You got an A. Does the candidate have time to do what it takes to win the race? You got an A. I mean, I'm sure your business suffered during the campaign because you were taking time away from your business, and I'm sure your family didn't see you as much as they probably would have liked during that time. But you dedicated the time that was necessary to do the things we asked. You got an A. And I think the last thing that we use, there was an old guy in Manatee County named Dutch Powers who's long been passed, and he had funny sayings like, "Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield."
Sounds like Dean.
But they probably would have got along famously. Yeah. He was an old rock and roller back in the day, and I'm sure he did his share of illicit substances that made him crazy. But he was my friend, and in a way, he taught me a lot of things. He taught me that voters are going to ask themselves two questions about a candidate. First, do I like him or her?
I think likability is the greatest asset of running for office.
And if they say yes to that question, the second thing they're going to ask immediately in their head, probably subconsciously, is, okay, I like him. Is he like me? And if they can identify with you, I think the sale is easier as a consultant running a campaign than if I have to force them to believe that you're like them. And so a great example that I'll use, and I wasn't going to say anybody's names that we work for, but I have to because this is so perfect. In St. Petersburg, Florida, St. Pete Beach, there's a district, a House district, and it got redrawn. It was kind of purple when it got redrawn. And we were looking for a candidate to run. And I know this woman over there for 20 years, much like I knew Wayne and you guys. Her name was Linda Cheney. She was a St. Pete Beach councilwoman for one term and very anti-hotel, very anti-growth, wanted to keep her little town. And I sat down and I looked at the map and I said, she is this district. And when people see her and hear her and meet her, they're going to say, oh my goodness, I really like her and she's a lot like me. And she ran away with that race.
Right. And
another example is a lady in Boca Raton that's in the House now named Peggy Gossett-Seidman. Peggy you would think meeting Peggy for the first time, and I've told her this, so I'm not afraid to say it, like, how are we going to make that work? But then you go out with Peggy to doors, and it's like magic. And I can't teach that, and I can't force that. Right. And so I think what makes a good candidate, a long answer to a very nice short question, is that likability, and their dedication to their community. And if they're from that area and have connection to that area and have cared about where they live, then voters feel it, and we don't have to force it on them.
Right. I think likability is hugely important. Those are the easy ones to get. The tough ones are the ones when you have to hold your nose and say, this guy or this gal's a real stinker, but she's the best of the two.
Yeah,
he's the best. Yeah, it's not
and
like
you've seen it. You've seen it. How many times have you seen that in your life?
Two.
Yeah.
Right. So why do negative campaigns work?
It's a great question. I don't think they work in every case.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. I don't think. I don't. So,
well, when do they work and when do they not? Then
even better follow up. I think you have to look at the tools of a campaign like the tools in a toolbox. You're not going to use a wrench to put a nail in the wall. So if in the course of the campaign, the campaign needs to take a turn in strategy, much like you'll see in presidential races where they change messaging. You'll see the president doing it now. All of a sudden, now we're in Venezuela. That's a strategic change. You'll see them talk about affordability differently now. That's a strategic change. Message changing happens all the time in campaigns. There comes a time in a campaign where you may have to talk about your opponent. and for several reasons. One, that it's a multi-candidate race, and we have to keep the race where it is in order to keep our vote share where it is. So we cap the other two to stay where we're at and win. Another situation would be where it's a head-to-head contest, and we get attacked first, so we attack back, or where we know that we're behind and we have to bring somebody down and then build our person back up. It's not there's no thing that you could ask me, would we do this in a campaign unilaterally ever, other than raise money, analyze the vote share, analyze what messages go to which voters, and so on. The actual execution of the campaign, as far as what tactics to use, really is done in a real time, day to day, maybe week to week basis.
Right. Well, I know every time I talk to you or Tom, hey, what do I need to be doing? Get on the phone and raise money. I mean, every time I talk to you, raise money, raise money, because that's gave you the fuel to execute the plan that you guys and I, had come up with to try and effectuate a win for us.
Yeah, so think about it this way. It was said to me a long time ago, you can always raise more money if you try. You can always raise more money and have it to buy more talent if you need talent. The only thing in a campaign you can never get more of is time, and that's true in life. And so we want to be good stewards of time in a campaign. So we have our candidates use their time to make sure we have that fuel in the tank, the money. We use it to make sure your boots on the ground in races that grassroots matter. We're doing a lot of grassroots work. And you'll see, this as a candidate yourself, that scale of how much time we devote to raising money and how much time we devote to doors changes as we get closer to the election date. And I think a lot of first-time candidates, for example, don't understand that.
Right.
Like, why is raising money now 7 months, 8 months, 10 months out so important? Well, because when you're 1 month out, we're not worried about the money. We're worried about the vote share.
Right.
And so I think that's a major, major point.
Well, having a big bankroll also helps scare other people away. Is, oh my gosh, this guy or this gal that I'm thinking of running against has got a lot of money. I can't compete with that. Maybe I'll drop out or run for another office. So, there's another side to it other than just having the asset there to deploy when you need it.
Yeah, the sheriff of Hillsborough County, Chad Chronister, raises $2 million. He didn't have an opponent last time, and he gave all the money back, prorated.
Our sheriff does the same thing.
Yeah, the reason you do that is because you don't want a race, and you've done a good job, and you've earned the community's trust. And it's not because guys like me are here pushing you to say, hey, I want to make more money, go raise more money. It's because we look at a race like, say, countywide in Polk County.
Right.
Polk County is not a small county.
Right.
It costs millions of dollars if you wanted to run a real campaign here. It would. If you were in a contentious, huge race for like sheriff in this county.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This would be $1 million county now. Okay. Hillsboro's a $2 million county. It all goes by the number of votes, what the TV costs, because you can't do mail in a county this big anymore. It's not cost effective. So you go on cable. Well, cable's $25,000 or $35,000 a week in this county for Fox News. And that's just a Republican primary. So you start looking at those things, and yeah, you can tailor it a little bit to target things, but I'm just talking overall now.
Right.
There is $1 million to raise in Polk County. They have that money here. There's banks all over. There's people with money. There's people who are politically motivated to make sure the community's wants the community to have the best government possible. So it's there, but the size of this county isn't what it used to be, and you can't just go around to the big picnics and the barbecues and the 4th of Julys and win. This is a tough county. And when Grady leaves, Grady's been one of the best sheriffs in the history of the country, let alone Polk County.
Right.
There's going to be a huge void, and unless he anoints someone to be a successor, which that's happened in a lot of sheriff's offices around the state, that'll be the biggest upheaval this county's had in what, 2 generations?
Yeah. Do you take on issues or just candidates?
We do both. We do corporate consulting for corporate clients who may not understand politics. So
I don't understand what.
Great question. So the realtors, the Florida Realtor Association, they're not our clients, but I'll use them for an example. They're very political, and they have a political consultant to help guide them through the process. So there are companies, big and small, that hire consultants that have political interests around the state for different reasons. One, maybe they want political advice because they want to build a theme park in Polk County,
Right.
and they want introductions to politicians.
Okay.
Maybe they have a vote coming up, and they want to.
Healthcare is the same way. We need
Hospitals are that-
people lobbying for us in Tallahassee.
That's
or
right.
DC.
That's right. So that's kind of that side of the coin, and then there's issues. I mean, we've done our share of issues. Issues are very different, because, like for example, a tax referendum for schools. Who's not going to vote for giving more money to kids' education? Those are slam dunk things. They don't always come with budgets, because who's going to raise money for that?
Right.
But when you have a stadium issue on a ballot, and there's a billionaire behind it, they're going to fund a budget to do a campaign. So issues are weird that way.
Are there any issues you would not get behind, or have you said no to issues?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, there's some things we don't do. There's some, look, when you're starting out in business, there's pretty much nothing you say no to, because you're eating rats on crackers.
Right.
But when you've become modestly successful, I think you learn as you get older that there are things that can help you and that there are things that can hurt you. And
It's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no, and in the most polite way, And to be honest with you, some of the folks that we've said no to in the past end up being our clients later.
Right.
Which some of the people we feuded with have been clients later. And a lot of the process, I think everyday people, some people that may be listening to this podcast don't understand, is that a lot of what goes on TV, on CNN and Fox News, is really just theater.
Of course it is.
And it's like going to a Broadway show.
It is not where you should be getting information.
No, and these people go out to dinner after, and they're having drinks after, and they discuss things like you and I would discuss things. And my favorite thing to do is have not like-minded friends come and drink wine and talk about politics,
Right.
because you're not going to fight with your friends.
Right.
And no one wants to be disagreeable at its core. It's when you get outside of that the TV cameras come on and everyone's looking for the soundbite. And it's my job to help do that now, because that's what moves the needle. But I don't think it'll be this way forever.
Todd's podcast is sponsored in part by Saunders Real Estate, your trusted partner in land and commercial real estate since 1996. With over 125 expert advisors located throughout the Southeast United States, the full-service brokerage specializes in a wide range of property types, from farms and ranches to commercial buildings and development land. If you're looking to build your legacy with a confident investment, please visit SaundersRealEstate.com or call 877-518-5263 to connect with an advisor today. How do you charge for like if I hire you? I know what I paid you and how I paid you. I don't know if that's changed, but Eli's thinking about running for coroner and somewhere in Georgia.
Well, we would
We'd
we'd have a consulting fee, and then we'd make a budget, and that'd be how we would charge.
Do you have a standard fee? Does it depend on?
It depends on the size of the race.
Is this a countywide race? Is this? And is it based on kind of we think he or she's got to raise this much money, and so we think we need to be a little bit of a percentage of that?
It doesn't. We really just do it by the level, and then the level of service the race will require. So, a state senate race is much more intense in a purple seat than it is in a red seat, for example.
So they're going to require more.
Right.
So company, so you
correct.
charge a little bit more.
Correct.
So if someone decides to run and they want to talk to you, you're going to look at the picture before. You're not going to say it's X number of dollars.
As I walked in your office today, I told him, I said, let me go look at your race. Let me go look at the numbers. Let me go see what the vote turnout is. We'll analyze it, and let me get back to you on how we're going to proceed. Yeah, that's definitely got to be a thing, because, again, back to your point, do you say no? Well, there may be a race where I really like the person, but I know they're not going to raise any money because of where the race is and how small it is, or medium size it is, or big it is. And so you might just say, okay, listen, I'm going to help you for $50.
You did that for my younger brother, Brad, when he ran for city commission. I said, Anthony made enough off of me. He's not going to have to reinvent the wheel with you.
And Brad's race was what? 3,000 votes max?
About that.
Yeah, I mean,
something
come on.
small, but I get it.
We've got races that are 600 votes. I mean, that person's going to raise $5,000, and that's going to be. Why would I take $2,500 and say, okay, that's my fee?
Right.
Now we've got $2,500 to talk to people. It's ridiculous. And so, listen, there's consultants out there. Everyone needs to know this, and I'm not naming names, because some of these guys are out there listening. who have to live. They have to make their living charging their clients fees.
Right.
It's detrimental to the campaign because I'll give you a great example from years gone by. It was a Republican Party primary in Hillsborough County, Florida, where a candidate had raised like $800,000. But in the process of raising the $800,000, they spent $700,000 of it. And my client was not a good fundraiser. And all I told him was, just get me to 90 grand. If you get me to 90 grand, I promise you on the day this election starts, which is in July, not February, you're going to win. You'll be the commissioner. And I swear as the day is long, on that day he had $98,000. The other guy had 90. I said, you just won this damn race. Crazy. Nobody believed it. And there we were. 66-33, by the way.
Is money how you determine whether someone wins or not? I mean,
no.
Some of it's got to be the quality of the candidate.
100%.
And you can't, if you're a stinker of a candidate, you spend 3 times as much, you're still not going to win.
Yeah, you could try to force a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. And sometimes, no matter how much money you spend, the electorate looks at it and listen, this isn't for us.
Right.
I mean, you've been on the dais. It's funny. Sometimes you look at the people and you're like, hey, they got that one right.
Right.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But people, I think instinctively, when it's brazen and obvious, they know the difference between the lemon and the nice car.
Who's been your favorite candidate outside of me? Who's been your favorite candidate ever that you can mention? Then I'll ask you who your worst candidate was.
I will tell you my favorite candidates overall have been the ones who create a dialogue with us and make the decisions better. So, for example, without giving names, because I don't want to do that, if you know your district and you know who you are and you know why you're running, having a conversation about what strategy we're going to take is so much more rich and fulfilling and better for the campaign. I think the least favorite candidates are the ones that are like, no, I'm doing this and you work for me, so you got to do it too. And that's happened before. And I'm like, you know what? You should go do that, and you have a nice day.
Sounds like all they need to do is produce their media for them and not be a consultant.
Well, I mean, but at that point, you know, they're not going to. There have been times when candidates have wanted to done complete detrimental damage to the campaign. But listen, if it's what you believe in, and I'm not going to stand in the way, I just don't want to be part of the destruction. And I have been in my younger years a part of. I mean, I got lied to once. This is a great example. I had a candidate who forged a diploma.
Oh my gosh!
And we brought her in the office, and I had a friend.
They forged a college degree.
110%. And I had a friend who was on the other side of the race and looked me dead in the eye and said, "Look, this is going to come out, and it's against the law, and you need to know." So I'm like, "Okay, well, give me 3 days to ferret this out." So we met with the candidate. She looked me dead in the eye. Tom was there. He asked her, I asked her again, dead in the eye, "It is my diploma. I graduated." I said, "Okay." And nothing else we could do. She was so distraught that we called her out, that the media was calling her out, that her opponent was calling her out, that she flew to where she went to college. She went to the registrar and she showed me a picture on her phone of the number of credits you need to graduate. And it was there, but there was not that graduate stamp. And I asked, and they go, well, they didn't do that back then. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they did. Okay, so now the story started to unravel a little bit. Then she posts a picture on Facebook of her holding the diploma, which is where this really went south. And the other team took the picture and forensically analyzed it. And the signatures on the diploma were not people who worked there when she graduated. She had to drop out of the race. And my advice and counsel to her that night was, look, you're a great lady. You just made a tremendous mistake.
Right.
But for the sake of the community, this is over. And I was in the media 2 days before defending her. And so I got hate mail. And she was
I've seen you in the media a few times.
Of course you have. I mean, you got a lot of people over here who love me. But
maybe not as many as you think.
They just, we open a bottle of wine, I'll get around the table. Everyone's happy.
There you go.
But that was a real low point professionally, because after that, how do you trust somebody when they look you in the eye and tell you, no, I don't have an arrest record?
Right.
And then you go online like, oh, they got an arrest record.
Yeah.
That's tough. That's the toughest thing.
How much time before we came in here, you were on one of those phone calls, and you hung up, said, I got to be in Tallahassee in 2 weeks, and I'll handle it, or session starts, whatever. How much time do you spend in Tallahassee? And when you're up there, are you recruiting new candidates? Are you maintaining relationships? Are you raising money? What do you do when you go to Tallahassee?
All of the above.
Okay.
I mean, Tallahassee is the epicenter of Florida politics. And so from talking and going to dinner with our current clients, to introducing our new clients to old friends, to meeting new friends, all of those things happen up there. And, you don't do as many state house and Senate races as we do, or as many county commission races as we do, and not somehow get looped into the biggest issue of the day. Like, for example, I'm asked by my neighbors every day, is Governor DeSantis going to take away property taxes? And my answer always is, well, Governor DeSantis can't take away property taxes, but I think he's trying real hard.
Right.
I wish I
know of a local government official that's going to agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, how do you
That's
fund?
how we fund our stuff.
Well, how do you fund anything at that point? I mean,
Right.
Cities would actually, you would have to merge cities and counties if that ever happened, automatically off the cuff. And then you would have basically a fee system where you would charge residents, as the government, a fee for service instead of a tax. And that would be the craziest. I mean, imagine that system where you get a bill every month from your government that says garbage pickup, water delivery. Well, you do get it now, but it's called a tax bill. But everything the government does would be on that. Maybe that's great transparency. I don't know. Look, we've done weirder things.
It doesn't work.
We've done weirder things than that. I mean, maybe what we have now doesn't work. But to change it wholesale automatically with no solution on it, I think is the problem that people are discussing, and hopefully they'll find a solution for. It's not my problem. I would love to pay. I know you would. I would love not to pay property taxes ever again. I would love to pay no taxes ever again, but this is just not the reality we live in.
Right. I wish they would change homestead exemption, that everyone paid a little bit of property tax. And maybe the homesteads for the second $50,000, that's where that is. Because everyone uses the roads. Everyone calls a sheriff, needs an ambulance, flushes their toilets, needs fresh water. But that's, like you said, worthy of a discussion over a glass of wine.
Maybe two.
Do you ever do national campaigns?
We have never done a national campaign. We've done a bunch of statewide and federal campaigns, never a national one. I think to do a national campaign, you'd have to quit all these local campaigns because the time commitment is unbelievable. It's 24/7.
I mean, have they ever brought you in as part of a team to
No.
hey, you handle the Florida wedge of the Southeast? None of that?
Not yet, but one day it probably will come.
What's your favorite level to do? Is it local? Is it state? Is it a federal candidate?
Judicial races are the easiest because you can't talk about anything. They're just simple.
Absolutely useless.
It's unbelievable. My favorite races are sheriff's races, because how hard is it to say to a group of old women that I'm going to be your sheriff, and if someone does something to you, I'm going to lock them up.
Right.
And those TV ads just write themselves. Back in the day in 2006, there was a guy in Lake County, Florida named Gary Borders, who was just appointed sheriff. I think at the time it was by Jeb Bush, if I got the timing right of that. And he hired me on to do his election because it was like 7 months later, some weird number. And he goes, well, Anthony, I don't know how we're going to do this. And I said, Sheriff, you see that uniform you got on? He goes, yeah. I said, you're going to wear that everywhere you go?
Right.
I said, and that's going to be the sale.
And your gun's going to be on you.
And it worked. And that year was the first year that the federal government came out with the 287G program for illegal aliens. This is how far back this issue goes, right? I mean, it goes back to the 80s, but the sheriffs could sign up for this analysis and deportation from their jails. And Gary was one of the first ones to sign up, and he was reticent to do it, and I convinced him to do it. I gave him all the merits of it from a policy standpoint and then from a political standpoint. And the month before his contentious 4-way Republican primary, an illegal alien attacked a deputy in Sereno, stole his firearm, and shot the deputy.
Oh, my gosh.
And Gary called me that night. He goes, I don't know about you, but I think we just won this election. I said, yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. And he did. He won. He was sheriff for as long as he wanted to be. And he passed away not long ago. He was a really good guy.
Right.
It's weird. You get to the point in this business where you're young and you think you're going to be doing it forever. Then you start burying clients or working for clients' kids, and you're like, how did this happen?
Right.
And I said this to Tom yesterday. I said, Tom, how did we get to be this old, and we're not really that old, but it's definitely 26 years later.
Right.
And he goes, "Have you looked in the mirror at the color of your beard?"
I noticed a lot of gray in your beard. I think before.
Well, that's from people like you.
Yeah. No, you never answered my call. What are you talking about? What's your win-loss percentage? Win-lose percentage, win-loss?
Last year
I'll tell you what you told me when I ran. And I
it's
asked
about
the same
85%.
question. So you're getting better.
Yeah, we've
It was 80-20 when you told me when I asked you.
Well, we won every primary we had last time on the state level. We had a massive loss in Manatee County because of development issues, but we won every other local race we had around the state, minus one sheriff's race. Yeah, and I attribute that to, first, I think we're older and wiser. At least I like to think so. I know I'm older.
Right.
And I think the second thing is we've recruited or attracted better quality candidates. Back to your original point, I think that's really the crux of...
Well, and you're also not that 20-year-old who has to take every candidate that comes along. You have the ability to say, I might not be a good fit for you. I think you should go talk to consultant A or consultant B.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very accurate. Very accurate.
Have you ever fired a candidate?
One time.
Sounds like you kind of fired that lady.
Yeah,
lied about her degree.
she fired herself, really.
Right, you talked her into it.
Yeah. One time, a long, long time ago, we rarely part ways with clients. Very rarely. And we usually always get candidates we run races with that don't win back. They seldom go use someone else if they run a second time around. I just think that speaks to the nature of the camaraderie and depth of relationships we make. We joke about it. We have a political family.
Right.
And we do. We have a very big political family, and not all, like in any family, not everyone in the family gets along.
Right.
But at the end of the day, if somebody gets attacked in the family, everybody stops arguing, and the person that's throwing the haymaker gets pretty much pummeled. So
right.
We're lucky in that way that we've developed those relationships. I mean, this is a relationship business, much like what most people do in life.
Most businesses.
Mm-hmm. And if you pay your bills and you're true to your word, I think that you go a long way in life, let alone this business.
Do you handle Democrats and Republicans? Are you're non-denominational? You don't care?
No, we handle Republicans only, especially in races where a Republican needs to win. Purple seats for sure. We've been accused of working for people like Jane Castor in Tampa. I've never had a professional relationship with Mayor Castor. Is she
assuming she's a D?
She's a Democrat. Okay. Is she my friend? Yes. She's the mayor of my town. I mean, Why would I not want to be a political guy in Tampa and not know who my mayor is or be friendly with her? I like my park that looks good. I like my curbs when they get cracked to be fixed. That it all comes from that office. So, and she's actually, people are humans first before they're of a party. I don't have to agree with everything that you agree with in order to be your friend. And just there's people out there that just want to use anything to attack anybody, and that's been a criticism of us. We've never worked on paper that I can remember directly for a Democrat in a Democrat race.
Well, it's got to be easier now being a Republican consultant who handles Republican candidates, since Republicans are kind of running the show right now. I would think being a Republican consultant in the 80s, when the D's were in charge, I would think that it'd be a little more difficult.
I would tell you it's not as fun because now we have to fight our own, and the fighting is dirtier.
I agree. Yeah. I think I've said this to many people. I've said it to some of our mutual friends who are in office and not. I said, we actually need a few more Democrats in Tallahassee because the Republicans are trying to out-Republican themselves.
Yeah, we have no enemy anymore, so we hurt each other.
Right.
And in hurting each other, you hurt the brand, and in hurting the brand, you hurt the overall...
Hopefully the policy.
Yeah, and so, again, I don't want Democrats to win races, but a good race... A good, solid, hard-fought, hard-won race usually makes a better policymaker,
right? Because
they've earned it. And I guess, if you were a parent of a kid and you gave everything to your kid, what do we usually call a kid like that? Spoiled. But if the kid earns everything in their life, usually tend to work a little hard. I mean, I hope that's the case in the politics side of it. And I think, in my experience, and I think most politicians would agree, people who have hard-fought contests and they earn the right to be in the seat with the microphone tend to treat that microphone and that seat with a little more respect and and look at it a little differently than people who just are given it.
Yeah. What is the reputation that political advisors enjoy like you?
I mean, I don't know. Have you Googled me lately? It's pretty nefarious.
I haven't in about a year.
I
got a virus after Googling you last
exactly.
time. I said, good Lord, look at what Anthony's been doing.
No, it's like I said at the beginning of this, everybody's become a target now. I mean, if you put your name out there in any way, I mean, I'm not a public figure. I've never held public office. I've never purported to be a public figure. I think that, honestly, I just want to be left alone, do my job. But there are folks that want to make me an issue. And that's fine. I mean,
but you're aggressive at times, and so people may take umbrage with that and say, "Hey, you're going to get aggressive. I want to push back."
Well, come on now. I mean, we've been in those fights 100 times, and
Right.
I don't think we've not got back up.
Right, I'm just saying that may be why they're doing it. Is hey,
Yeah.
Anthony didn't have anything to do with this other than.
I think people have a harder time attacking a candidate who may win that may have, quote, power,
Right.
than they do beating up on the consultant who gets hired or fired. Nobody cares about that guy.
And you're nameless, faceless. Hey, I
don't live in the
I
community.
can throw something against Anthony, but I got to shop at Publix with Mary or John. Or
That's right. I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we joke around that there's a bunch of people now. Social media has given birth to the guy who lives in his mother's basement in his tidy whities with his Cheeto stained fingers, who can make 16 different alias accounts on Twitter and say anything. Now we live in the world where AI can create anything and make it look like you're saying things and doing things. It's just a weird, scary world. And like, you know, my grandma's 92, sorry. Well, I wish she was 82. Got to for a long more time. She's 92. And I try to explain some of these things to her. Like, she sends me these Donald Trump videos. I don't know if you've experienced this. And she's like, "Oh my God, isn't this amazing?" I'm like, "Nanny, that's not real."
Yeah.
Like, that's not him
Well, I
saying
discovered Instagram about 5 or 6 weeks ago. My favorite are the dogs.
Yeah.
You know, the dogs that just go crazy when they get startled. But seeing it looks real. It looks like this guy or this gal's talking. And now I don't trust any of it. Even if it's someone showing you how to cook a roast.
Yep.
That's probably not their real voice. That's probably not their lips.
No,
really
or
moving.
these things that sell products, and they, you know, you pour this magic black water on the plant, the plant explodes.
Right.
Well, the first time I saw, I'm like, "Wow, I gotta get that black water."
Yeah.
And then I watched it again. I'm like, "That is not real." And I'm not saying
There's a huckster everywhere.
I mean, there is, and I think that the AI and the social media has made it easier to be a huckster.
Yeah.
I think that changes the face of campaigns enormously. I mean, in Polk County, Florida, you have still small town values. You have people who know their community. You're growing fast like everywhere else in Florida, but you still seem to maintain here a sense of identity. Like if you live in Winter Haven, when someone outside the state, and you travel to Montana for vacation, and someone asks where you're from, you say Winter Haven. The difference is in Tampa, if you live in Lutz and someone in Montana asks you where you're from, you say Tampa. Well, no, you're not from Tampa.
Right.
And so we've lost that in some of these places because we've grown so fast and we are so big. And that's changed the nature of all of our races and the way we talk. And, you know, what I can do for candidates, if I'm good at my job, is know where I am. And so, for example, if I'm in Fort Myers, there's definitely a different mindset from Fort Myers across the bridge to Cape Coral.
Right.
And you have to know that. And you have to know where you are and who you're talking to and what their plans are. And I think that's a bigger part of this than we've really alluded to in all these questions.
Well, how are you so certain about the things that you talked about today? Give me $90,000 and I guarantee you'll win. I mean, did you go to
We never guarantee anything.
I know, but you said you will win. I mean, I get it. I mean, was there like a proper education that you went through with a school, or is it just, hey, I learned from other people who are successful. I out hustled my competition. I've gotten better because I've gotten more experience.
I mean, I think it's all the above. I wasn't formally educated on how to do marketing or media or write a press release. I think I learned that from folks like Randy Nielsen and Rich Johnson, some of my first employers. I learned how to do grassroots from people like Dutch Powers in Manatee County. I learned from a guy named Chuck Wolf, who wasn't even in politics. And we did the Truth Campaign for Governor Childs when I was 17 years old.
Right.
Learned about how you can create a network of people and bring other people in. And it was kind of a political movement, but it wasn't, you know. And And then being around Lawton Childs as an older teenager, you would see that guy stop in Lakeland, and he'd come up to you and go, "Hey, Todd, how's your mom? And know your mom's name and your dad's name." And I was like mesmerized by that.
A great retail politician.
Unbelievable. Those are not found very often anymore.
Right.
But no formal education. I think it's a lot of on the ground learning and experience. I think that I had really great mentors along the way. I had my first job as a consultant with Public Concepts over on the East Coast. They were very patient with me because I was more aggressive then than I am now, and I was crazier then than I am now as far as wanting to go after the win. No one likes to lose, and when you're a younger virile, man, you don't like to lose or be told no. And so that's kind of where you started.
Now are you a low T, middle?
Oh, I'm just like everybody else. Middle age, low T, midlife crisis. Let's go.
Gray beard wearing.
It's white. It's not gray. I skipped the gray.
Hey everyone, this is Dr. Steve Nelson. I just finished an awesome conversation with Todd on his podcast. We talked all things forensic pathology and medical examiner, and you don't want to miss it. Be sure to check out Todd's podcast at todddanzler.com, and don't forget to subscribe so you can catch all the future episodes too. Thank you.
Let's talk about polling for a minute. Is it accurate anymore? Are some pollsters better than others? I mean, I've got my own opinions. How has it changed? Just because, everyone's gotten rid of their home phone, they're on cell phones. You have had to change. Pollsters have had to change. I'm assuming questions maybe even have had to change with the dynamic of how information is gathered.
You hit it on the head. Everything has changed. And it's so crazy, Todd, because everything changes cycle to cycle now. It used to be like, okay, we ran a race in 2000. 2006, we're going to add this little piece to it because the internet did this. From last election to this election, the way data is collected, the way data is stored, the way we chop up the data, the way we could do micro-targeting on cable TV in certain markets, all of those things have changed. And yes, polling has changed because 80% of us don't own a landline anymore. And so, yes, there are good pollsters, and yes, there are bad pollsters. And their results don't make them good or bad. I think it's the methodology in which they use that makes them good or bad. And a good pollster will tell you we have to do certain percentage of this poll through texting, certain percentage through the internet, and certain percentage through cell phones, and a certain percentage on landlines. And that will give us the scientific data we need to cobble together what we think this thing looks like. The thing most people don't understand about polling doesn't predict outcomes. It's not what it's there for. A poll could say that you're going to win by X percent, but a poll is a snapshot at a moment in time.
Is it to drive a news cycle?
No, because we really don't release polls. We really stopped doing that a long time ago. I think that for us, we're 6 months in this race. We spent X amount of dollars. We're getting ready to turn to the right. Is the turn to the right correct, or should we continue straight for a little bit longer? Let's take a snapshot and look. And, in benchmark polls, those are the big ones that people call attack polls. There's no such thing as attack poll. We just want to know if the attack's going to work. You'll have a crazy amount of questions, right? Like, if you knew Todd Dantzler had 16 wives, turned Mormon, then Catholic, then turned back around and got a husband, would you be likely to vote for him? Those things are the kind of questions people don't like, but it tells us, is that an attack? And I could use an example here in Polk County.
Yeah, I wouldn't vote for that guy.
No, of course not. But you'd be surprised by this story. So special election 9 years ago, Josie Tomko's running for the State House for Neil Cumby's seat because he left because President Trump appointed him to the FDA or ag. And we had nothing to, if we got attacked, defend Josie with by attacking this girl, Jennifer Spaeth. And, I go over to Tom's office and Tom's all digging into everything and like he does. And he says, yeah, she liked Hillary Clinton on Facebook. I said, well, that's the damn killer. He goes, what? It's Facebook. I said, she liked it. I said, watch this. I called my grandma. At the time she was, 80 years old. I said, Nanny, if I told you I liked Hillary Clinton on Facebook, how would you react? Are you stupid? I called the pollster and I said, you got to put, she liked Hillary Clinton on Facebook on the poll. He goes, we're not wasting a question on that. I said, no, you got to put it on the poll. Everybody was against me. They put it on the poll. Guess what the number one hit against this girl was? That she liked Hillary Clinton on Facebook. Because if you're a 70-year-old plus woman in an electorate that doesn't understand social media, that means you voted for Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And I got that because my grandma got it. And so I think a lot of the time you really, to answer your question first, yes, there's good pollsters. Yes, there's bad pollsters. If you take it in context that it's a snapshot in time and a roadmap at times, yes, it works. It's not going to show you the direct outcome. But in this specific instance, it could give you not a silver bullet, but some ammunition that you can use to drive the electorate.
I remember you said, hey, I need some money because I want to put one question about you on a poll that another candidate is doing or another issue. And I didn't quite understand that, but now that I've done this, and if you get a phone call and someone says, can you spare a few minutes, and they're asking you questions about all these people, and then all of a sudden there's a local person, it's like, why are you asking about Todd Dantzler in a county commission race when you're talking about, Barack Obama or McCain or some national thing? And it was because you just wanted to have this pollster do one question for me in my race just to give you another bit of nugget. I'm assuming that's why it was done.
Yeah, correct. And so we got a little gauge of where we were.
And only had to pay for a percentage of that rather than pay for a whole pollster to do.
Right, and you never got access to the whole poll. You just got the access to your question. So yeah, I think it was $500 we paid for a question, and what I asked,
and you charged me was $500.
Well,
Anthony.
I think that's what it was. But at the time, I think a polling question went for $500.
Right.
And so I asked another candidate, hey, if Todd pays $500 of this bill, can we divvy it out that way? And the pollster was agreeable. They were agreeable. You only got the $500 worth of service, so it was all legal.
Right.
And yeah, we got a little snapshot in time to say that we were on course.
How about robocalls? Are they still doing those?
Oh my God, yes.
Well,
you can't robocall a cell phone, I don't think, anymore.
I don't know, but I had a landline at the time. I robocalled myself in 2010. We had a couple $1,000s left over a few days before, said, we're going to do a robocall. Call this number. Here's a script. We want you to do this. Yeah. So I do it. And all of a sudden I pick up the phone. Hey, this is Todd Dantzler. And I'm going, are you kidding me? I'm calling myself.
You know what's
I
faster?
Thought that was hilarious.
What's faster than that these days is texting.
Yep.
So you could tell me at 1:10 in the afternoon that you want to send a message out that has to do with X, Y, and Z. And by 1:15, if you have approved the message, 35,000, 45,000 people have it. It's insane the speed this stuff moves. And people get their text messages. I mean, you're on your phone all the time.
Well, I know of a candidate that you represented recently because I started getting all these texts. And I went, holy crap. And I'm not going to unsubscribe because I knew it was, a client of yours. So I took it. And but that's when I first realized it's changing. And this is the texting world coming in. And they were, 100 words, 80 words, whatever it was.
It's federally regulated. Like what you have to put in that message is federally regulated. Which is crazy, but think about that. So in order to campaign for county commission, there's a federal law on how you structure your text message. It's wild.
But that's your responsibility to do it correct. It's not necessarily the candidate's to understand that. It's a candidate's responsibility to make sure it's done right, but they hire a consultant like you to say, hey, Anthony, keep me legal.
It's where we have value.
Everything you do.
It's where we have value.
Right,
I mean,
absolutely.
The other area you have value is you have relationships, right? So you may know your community, but you may not know everybody that cares about that race. So we can say, hey, have you thought about calling Todd Dantzler over in Bartow because he knows this, this, and this? He may actually be able to connect you with so-and-so in Lakeland, and you're running in Lakeland. Oh, no, I didn't think about that. Something we do.
I still get those people that call me.
Do.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, you're doing a podcast for crying out loud.
Yeah.
You're like making yourself a target.
Yeah. What are the most effective ways to campaign these days? Social signs, door to door. I know you didn't really care for yard signs
the yard signs I do. Big signs I'm not a huge fan of because Harvard did a study back in the early 2000s where they found that yard signs actually influence who people vote for, but big signs after 30 days become part of the scenery that you see every day on your commute. So they have a scientific data-driven study that says if Todd Dantzler, who his neighbors know and trust, puts a sign in his yard, and I don't know, for lack of a better person, Rick, and I see Rick's sign in Todd's yard, either at some point I'm going to ask Todd about Rick, or I'm just going to go to the poll because Todd has Rick's sign and vote for Rick based on my relationship with Todd. Great real-life example. Last election, I put a Karen Gonzalez Pittman sign in my yard. I've lived in the neighborhood for 3 years, but I do a big Halloween thing.
At your house neighborhood.
At my house.
Yeah.
And one of my older neighbors walks across the street, great guy, veteran, awesome dude, helicopter pilot in Vietnam, Texan. Just I'm just trying to paint a picture of him coming across the street for you because he's a larger than life guy in my life, and I want people to understand that he's just he's the man's man coming across the street at 80 years old. Yes, he's Clint Eastwood, and he comes across the street and he says, "Hey boy," I said, "Hey Mr. Chet," he says, "That Karen Gonzalez lady, you voting for her?" I said, "Yes sir, I am." He goes, "All right, she got my vote. See you later." I was like, "Okay." Signs, the yard signs work, billboards and big signs. I mean, if you have an unlimited budget, go for it. But start with the yard signs. And if you're going to be the candidate who puts the yard signs out, knock on the door, ask for the yard sign, shake the hand,
right,
and then put it in your notes that you put a yard sign there. Because I have a candidate that is not a candidate anymore in Tampa who used to do this. When we went to go put out yard signs, it was real easy because we had a list.
Right.
And so we knew we had 1,000 places to start. And in one night, there'd be 1,000 signs in these neighborhoods. People would just be flummoxed by it. And that's really powerful.
Well, candidates like to see yard signs. When they're nervous, gives them something to do. My son, Jacob, hated putting up the big signs.
Yeah, but he was the sign king.
He was a beast, and I guarantee you, he put up 98% of the signs with me. My nephew Blake, he wasn't that great at it, but he was still out there.
He was trying.
He got a free lunch out of whenever Blake would go out with us. But Jacob was a beast.
I think you also queued up on something here with candidates wanting to see stuff. There definitely is a family component to this and an ego component. So, I mean, candidates want to see and hear and feel that they're present in an election, right? So, like, if a candidate isn't, we have sheriffs are protected, so they don't get their mail. So we make sure we add their address into our mail universe so that they can see what they're approving and they know when it arrives.
Right.
Otherwise, there's a lot of questions, especially in sheriff's races because the departments, they're all protected. None of the deputies get the mail, so it's a big deal. Candidates like to see their own stuff, and that's where social media becomes kind of like snake oil because they're like, why am I not seeing myself on Facebook?
Right. I'm paying for it. Why didn't I not? I paid for this postcard.
Oh, the worst. You want to hear another worst? You just brought this up. This is great. Candidates who sit and watch TV after you tell them the TV buy started.
Really?
I've watched Fox News for 17 hours and I haven't seen my ad. I'm like, you have not. I mean, seriously, go knock on doors. I can give you a report at the end of the campaign of exactly the time that ad ran. Please go knock on doors. And then you'll hear like 2 days later, oh, I saw the ad.
Yeah.
We're good. I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching Fox News, you've seen the same story for 17 hours.
No doubt.
Same story, just a different moderator telling it.
No doubt. But
what's the least effective way to campaign then?
I mean, I still think retail politics is the number one, like, getting, especially in a state house race or county commission race, it's a district.
It makes you human. It makes you likable.
Yeah, there's state senate races where we still do thousands and tens of thousands of doors. That's still, I think, in Florida, the mother's milk of politics is that retail sale. I think social media is still in the primary, not the number one or number two or number three thing you got to worry about. I think, again, if unlimited budgets, you throw it in there. I think email, text, all those things are becoming more and more relevant. I think as my generation and my nieces and nephews' generation gets older and they start to enter the voting place, social media will become a much bigger thing than it is now. But I don't think because of the age of the population that it's a huge, like I can't put ads on Instagram for a county commissioner and think we're going to win a race.
Right.
It just doesn't work. So I think that's probably in the mix.
I'm scrolling through it to see the dogs that go crazy.
My grandma's looking for me, not for you.
That's right. You got any of your family members that are coming up thinking about politics?
I hope not.
You know what?
I wish
you just mentioned nieces and nephews.
My nephew is running for 10th grade representative at his school, and he sent me a flyer. His mom sent me a flyer the other day. His name is Michael. He has on the flyer Michael Phelps, the swimmer, Michael Jordan. I forget the other 2 Michaels he puts on there. And at the bottom it says, all the greats are named Michael. Vote Michael Pedicini.
What a great slogan.
And he didn't ask for any help from any of us with this. And I want a copy of the poster, and I want to put it in my office. But he didn't tell his mom. He didn't tell his dad. And his mom is the vice principal at the school. And she walked out of the office to come home. And goes around the corner and sees all the greats were named Michael, and she lost it.
Right.
She didn't take it down. She took a picture of it and sent it to the family. Like, can you guys believe this? And it's pretty fantastic. So maybe that kid's got a future, but he's got the hair for it. I hope he doesn't lose his hair.
My daughter, when she was in college in her sorority, she was running for some office in the sorority. I said, hey, do you need me to get Anthony on the team? I said, we can get Anthony to crank this thing right up, and we'll guarantee you. I don't even know what it was.
I've done a few student government races, only from the standpoint of like I tell kids, like, here's the deal. One of my godsons in Gainesville ran for, I think, 7th grade president or something, and I said, Kaysen, go have your mom spend $300 on blow pops and just pass them out at the buses and say, hi, I'm Kaysen Kane. I want to be your president. Here's a blow pop. And he won. I mean, again.
I think when I ran for president of student body in 9th grade, I put my name, don't be odd, vote for Todd, on a piece of bubble gum or candy and handed it out.
Yep.
I won. What are some of the misconceptions about political consultants?
Well, it depends on the political consultant. I don't know. I think some of these people that like to do blogs and videos and social media posts think that we raise the price, or that we force people we work for to vote certain ways or do certain policies. We have nothing to do with that.
Right.
As far as the politics of what you do on the dais, I mean, you were on the dais how many years?
8.
How many times did I text you about what you're doing on the dais?
I don't ever remember that.
Exactly. Or I would wait and we'd have a conversation like, hey, Todd, really great vote today. We're going to use that in the reelect. But never, Todd, you should go vote for this contract, right, or you should call this person because of this. It just doesn't happen. And people assume it happens because, in Manatee County, for example, I had 7 county commissioners as clients at the same time. People assumed I was writing the script for the meeting. I don't have time for that. I'd rather go on a trip to Bolivia and,
right,
go kill a jaguar in Africa.
Right.
No one's got time for that.
Has Carville outlived his usefulness as a consultant? He seems to be on all the time, at least on Fox. He's bombastic.
He's getting paid, I think. So no.
I just wonder if anyone's hiring him.
No, I think he's quite effective. I think he's a voice of reason. I think as the Democrat Party takes a serious left turn. Look, I've got friends who don't believe in some of the stuff that their party, that are Democrats, are doing. Democrats today want to be democratic socialists.
Right.
They want free stuff. And what anyone who's read Ayn Rand, Charlie Hilton in the Panhandle, God rest his soul, was the one who handed me the Ayn Rand Atlas Shrugged book and said, hey, after you eat your broccoli, read this book. And I said, yes, sir. And
I know who you gave it to in this county.
Exactly. So it was the most easiest way to understand what happens when we penalize ingenuity and hard work and development and all these things. And really people stop doing these things.
Right.
And, ever since the dawn of time, there's been doers and takers and makers and buyers, and it's just how that works. So I don't think anything's ever free. And I think if we become a party or a country that succumbs to it, we're going to be like every other country that's ever been on the earth, and there's going to be nothing special about us anymore.
Do consultants have a life cycle, or is it, hey, we just get burned out, I want to do something else, or I want to go get a regular paycheck and not worry about my income goes up and down year to year?
Yeah, I hope you don't have a life cycle. I hope I get to do this for as long as I want. And I think keeping up with the changes in the technology.
That's how you stay relevant.
I think that's how you stay relevant. I think keeping up with how different, for example, Polk County is today than it was in 2010. I think that's how you stay relevant. I think keeping up with, when I started working with you, most 95% of my clients, 99% of them were older than me. Now it's like 50-50. So there's a lot of things that change with that, right? So I don't have to introduce myself when I go to a client meeting anymore. Sometimes I don't even go to the meeting. They just say, hey, we're hiring you. And I'm like, wait a minute, we need to go. I need to put eyes on you. Let's have a meeting. I think that's how that works. And I think if you can stay with it, it'll stay with you.
Hey everybody, this is your host, Todd Dantzler. As most of you know, I'm a partner with Saunders Real Estate and have been a very active and working broker for over 42 years. I have fostered strong relationships throughout the state of Florida, working on properties ranging from agriculture and development land to multifamily, commercial, and industrial projects. If you have any real estate needs at all, please give me a call. I'd love to help. My direct line is 863-877-2846. Thank you. Do you think there's a win-at-all-cost attitude with most of the candidates today, or do you think, hey, I want to run for the right reason? If I don't win, that stinks, but I'll move on?
The good candidates will never win at all costs.
Because they have something else to do in their life.
Because it's not their identity.
Right. That's a much better way to put it.
It's not their identity. And like Grady is, again, I'll say it again, one of the greatest sheriffs in the history of the country. Being the sheriff, I would argue, could be Grady's identity at this point. He's been there for 54 years? I mean, it is who he is. It's at his core. He is the sheriff. And he hasn't been the sheriff for that long, but he's been but that sheriff
office since the early 70s.
Yeah, it's part of his DNA.
You can listen to his first podcast, you can find out about his history.
I promise. But it's part of his DNA. And again, I don't think that makes Grady bad as a candidate. I just think because of his service and how long he's been there, it's part of his DNA. He didn't set out that way, I guess is my point. I don't think he did. I don't think when he became a deputy 54 years ago that he said, I'm going to be the sheriff one day and I'm going to be this great sheriff. But I think people who run with the idea that being a state representative or being a state senator or being a county commissioner is what I'm going to be, I think that kind of clouds the deal. I've got a client who is in Tallahassee now who tells me repeatedly, I don't need this job.
Right.
I do it because I love my state and I love my community. And if any time this gets too burdensome, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm done. I'm going home.
And that was my attitude. We had term limits. I want to ask you about that. But my attitude was, when I die, commissioner's not going to be on my tombstone.
Right.
I hope he was a good dad.
Right. I mean, it'll be a footnote. It'll be part of your story.
Yeah, it's part of your resume, part of your bio, but it ain't going to be the lead article, lead line.
No. And that's what made you a great commissioner. And I think as far as term limits go, I like term limits as a consultant because there's always races to run. But I think people who there's a positive and a negative to a term limit. Mm-hmm. Here's the positive: you get new blood, new ideas, people who are up on the community, who can change course of the community, the government if they need to, et cetera, et cetera. The negative is, do we lose the institutional knowledge of why we are who we are?
No.
When we throw people out. But it's a question you have to ask. I mean, it's happened in Tallahassee. We've seen it, right? Lobbyists and bureaucrats who have 35, 40 years of experience are telling these new 26-year-old legislators, hey, by the way, you got to do this. Why? Well, this is because we're telling you this.
And that's been the argument all along. But it's also just as dangerous when the elected officials get up there and they think they become bulletproof and that they're above the law. I was not a fan of term limits until I was term limited out. Mm-hmm. And I was glad of it because I felt like if I could have done another term, I felt like I owed it to the people. They invested in me for 8 years. Should have done one more term. I was tired. After 7.5 years, I was ready to get out.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. People don't understand that. And it's all local. So I'm sleeping in my bed. I happen to go to Tallahassee and sleep up there for 6 months out of the year, or DC or whatever. But I do think it's the only way to beat a lot of people. Is it's almost impossible to beat an incumbent. I beat one, and the other person I beat ended up being a county commissioner. But I think I was a pretty strong candidate at the time. I don't know what's more dangerous, an elected official who feels insulated from the world or the staff.
See, and it's a great question. And I think the term limit argument.
That's the third bottle of wine.
Yeah, exactly. I think the term limit argument leads us to a much bigger argument, a discussion about how great the country is that we can try term limits, and if they don't work, we take them back. Or maybe it's not 8 years, maybe it's 12.
Right.
There's all sorts of things we get to do in this country that nobody else has the ability to do. And I think I have voted for term limits on the ballot before. I think they're great. For policy, nobody should have an elected office for life. That's not what it was intended to do. Even in ancient Rome, they didn't have elected offices for life. We all have friends who've been there for a long time. And I have clients who've been there a long time. It doesn't mean I don't believe in term limits. And you know what? Some of them believe in term limits. Right. They really do. It's never been able to happen. So I think term limits are good. I think there's dangers both ways. Like I said, I'm not trying to ride the fence, but I think you could make arguments in both ways.
How do you handle stress?
I go hunting. And not when I say, okay, let me.
You don't go hunting for weak candidates to pick off
No, I
under the overpass or anything.
I think the key to being a great hunter, and I've had a lot of friends who have hunted way longer than me, who I listen to with 2 ears and one mouth. The key to being a great hunter is being able to go in the woods and see the most glorious deer you've ever seen. Scope it out, see if you want that deer. And if it's not the one you want, or you think maybe that'll be better next year, putting your rifle down and watching it walk away. And I take great pride in the fact that I've mastered that skill, in that I don't raise my gun and shoot everything that walks by. In fact, I was telling somebody last night, it's meditative to sit in a tree stand at 5 o'clock in the morning, and at 6 o'clock, the sun comes up and the squirrels come out and the armadillos come out, and you see a part of Florida, especially, that I would argue 90% of the people who live here will never see, and it's the biggest stress reliever in my life. The second biggest stress reliever in my life is going home to where I grew up and playing with my brother and children's kids.
And where was that?
Melbourne, Florida. And we this Christmas, we had the best Christmas since my mom passed away. I played till 4 o'clock in the morning. There's a game called Settlers of Catan. It's now called Catan. But I taught my nephew and my niece.
Eli knows that.
Eli, you know that one?
I'm a reigning champ in my family right now.
I couldn't win a daggum game at Christmas, and it really
Shea Pedicini. It made me how it's done.
My nephew is like the champ, and he never played. I'm like, how is this happening? Anyway, so we played till
we have a nephew named Mike.
Michael, yeah. So, all the greats. Yeah. So that's a great stress reliever too.
Good.
Yeah.
Who are your favorite sports teams? I know you live in the Tampa Bay area. Are all of them your favorite?
I'm a huge Tampa Bay Lightning fan, a huge hockey fan since I'm a kid. My brother and I started out watching the Islanders with my dad and his brothers. I remember going to Nassau Coliseum for the first time, and my dad had a cousin or a guy. Everybody knows a guy up there. Who let us in the side door. We sat in vacant handicap seats. And that was, I don't know if my dad bought the tickets or we snuck in, but I remember that memory. And to this day, my brother and I are hockey fans. And when I finally moved to Tampa, my brother was going to USF, and he hadn't been diagnosed with cancer yet. And I said, listen, I got this little bit of money, and my fraternity brother works at the hockey team, and he says for this little bit of money, he'll give us these 2 seats. We can go to all the games together. I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. We went to a couple games together, and then he got diagnosed with cancer and went home for treatment. And then he got married, never moved back to Tampa, and I got stuck with these damn hockey tickets for however many decades it's been.
Right.
So, yeah, Tampa Bay Lightning, definitely my favorite. I don't watch too much soccer. My business partner likes soccer.
But who does?
My business partner likes soccer.
Tom?
Yeah, he loves soccer. I love the Bucks. I'll root for the Detroit Lions because my cousin's brother-in-law plays for them, and that's about the extent of my how I get into the sports world.
Charity work. I know you've done that.
Make a Wish, Florida. I've raised money for pediatric cancer research. It's one of the most underfunded, misunderstood areas of research that we have in the medical world. Treating kids with cancer is very different than treating an adult with cancer. I don't know if you know this, but kids' cells move at a different pace and grow at a different pace than adult cells. And so what most cancer treatments do is they target those fast cells because cancer cells are fast. Well, you can't do that with kids because it targets all their cells. So there has to be special treatments for kids' cancer. And since the 80s, there hasn't been a breakthrough. And I think, I don't remember if it was 3 years ago, but there was a new treatment for kids' cancer for the first time in 40 years, and it was a big deal. So I was a part of that for a while. I joined up because of that. My brother having cancer. I had a niece that had cancer who was, I think, under 6 or 5. And my cousin's kid.
It's tough.
It's tough.
Well, didn't you grow a beard for...
That was a pediatric cancer
I remember
research.
that one. I remember, hey, send me some money. I'm growing a beard for cancer, or I'm not shaving for a month, or whatever it was. And
yeah, that was the pediatric cancer research. That was the Beardathon through the Lightning, which was a cool thing. We got national recognition for
Does
that.
that still go on?
No, they don't do the Beardathon anymore. But this Make-A-Wish thing came about. My niece died of a form of cancer. And I remember that Make-A-Wish sent my cousin and her entire family to Disney. I don't know why.
Yeah.
This is crazy. the memory of that day was
Yeah.
totally over the top. And so I was asked by a good friend who knew that story.
Right.
Like, hey, man, your story's great. You should be on the Make-A-Wish board. And so I got on the Make-A-Wish board, and my friend really set me up because he knew that I
Is he still your friend?
Yeah, he's still my friend. He's still on the board. But he was in charge of the second biggest event they do in Tampa called Dishes and Wishes. And thanks for helping me through that. Dishes and Wishes. And he says, hey, man, I want you to be the co-chair with me this year. I was like, oh, okay, I'll be the co-chair. What do I got to do? He said, nothing. No, just be the co-chair. And he gets up there the night of the event and he says, well, this is my last year being chair. My co-chair, Anthony's going to be the chair next year. And so for the past 3 years, I've been the chair of this event. And we've raised literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for kids who are medically needy to make a wish and get that wish. A wish costs almost $16,000 now. And I don't think you can put the price. I don't think you can put a price, and I'm not even the parent of the kid, on the experience I had that day.
Right.
So I'm a big proponent of that.
Well, how can people get involved if they're hearing what you're talking about? If they want to write a check, is it just the
Make-A-Wish? Yeah, no, Make-A-Wish South Florida. It's a South Florida chapter, Make-A-Wish. It's really easy to find. I wish I had the website offhand, but I don't. But if you Google Make-A-Wish South Florida, it's someone will definitely take your money there. And no amount is too small. And they'll take things, for example, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers don't necessarily give money, but they say, hey, if you have a kid who has a wish and they want to be on the field, we're there.
Yeah.
Or the Lightning does a lot of stuff for that. The biggest Make-A-Wish group that I've come across is Disney. I mean, Disney is over the top to help these families. And you would be shocked. Some things that these kids ask for are, I want a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And then some of them are like, I want a trip to Paris.
Yeah.
So it's remarkable what the shapes and flavors and colors of the kids and the shapes and flavors and colors of the wishes. And it's an organization that's nimble enough to make all that happen.
Well, can you turn some of your contacts in Tallahassee into turning more money out for pediatrics?
How do you think we've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for Make-A-Wish? I mean, I'm so blessed in the fact that I have had career-long relationships like with people like you and the Grants down in Charlotte and the Chronister DeBarlow folks over in Tampa, that when they know I'm doing this, I don't almost even have to ask. They just say, hey, when is the event?
Right.
And, my friend Stuart Lasher over in Tampa, he and his wife buy a table that I don't even have to ask him. They're like, hey, when's the event again? And it's, it's not about me or it's about the kids. And I'll tell you a funny story about going to Africa with Make-A-Wish. So I'm in Africa. We're coming home. I never thought I'd go to Africa, let alone hunt in Africa. And here I am in the middle of the Serengeti, wild trip.
Shaka Pedicini.
Unbelievable. And I learned how to speak some, what's it called? Swahili. To be on the truck for 14 days with these guys, you had to speak a little Swahili. So I did a speech.
Just to know if they're making fun of you.
Let me tell you, they talk about you. They do. Oh, they definitely do. And they make nicknames for everybody on the second day. I learned that too. My nickname was Buana Moja.
Buana Moja?
Which was one shot. So I'll tell you how my hunting was. So anyway, we get back into Arusha, and we're going to there's a African cultural center there, owned by the most eclectic gentleman I've ever met in my life, who's of Indian descent, Muslim, but African, born in Tanzania, and he owns the Tanzanite diamond mine. He owns it, and this is his passion, this museum thing he's put together. And he's selling me Tanzanite diamond or Tanzanite necklace for my niece, and I'm like, I really don't need to buy this. And my friend Jim's like, no, you're going to buy it from him. This is how this works. And the guy's like, you guys are really nice. I don't really do this often. Can I take you guys to dinner? And I look at Jim, and Jim's like, I know this guy. He's fine. Let's go. We go to this Indian restaurant. I can't eat spicy food. Todd, I swear to God, there was nothing not spicy. Like the restaurant made your eyes tear when you walked in, and it was so spicy. And we're talking, and he brings his brother-in-law, who lives in Michigan, randomly, who sells African safaris. And we get on charity work, because this guy does a lot of charity work, and Jim, my friend Jim in Chicago, does a lot of charity work. And I said, well, I do Make-A-Wish. And he goes, oh, my wife and I do Make-A-Wish. Here, we're going to give you a free safari to auction off at your next Make-A-Wish. Who would have thought in Arusha, Tanzania, I got a free safari to auction off that we auctioned off for $15,000, paid for a wish. because I went on a hunting trip to Africa. Like, you never know when these relationships are what they're going to do. And again, very blessed to have those relationships. It's been great in business. It's been better in the private life that I lead. And yeah, I'm just all around thankful for all that.
Well, we need to get you back to just talk about Make-A-Wish sometime if you'd like to.
If I can not cry and do it.
Yeah, you'll do fine.
Yeah.
We had a lady on, Angela Davis, who's the Toys for Tots representative for here in Polk County, and she was on a couple of months ago. And, we put a box down front, and Eli and I got to go out and take the toys to their organization. She had a dog that's bigger than Eli, and but it was a great thing. It's just, you never know the fabric of the people in the community who are holding everything together and making it work, because you never hear about them.
Nope.
So thank you for what you do for that.
And sometimes you hear from them because they decide that, amazing to bring this back to what we started talking about. There are those people who do those things silently, who affect thousands of lives, who learned in the course of that service that, wait a minute, this law is screwed up, and it's holding 10,000 of these families back who could take the next step in their lives and make their kids more successful than the parents. And they go to a lawmaker who says, oh, yeah, I can help with that, or says, nah, I'm not going to help with that. Well, at that point, that person has two choices. They either work with the person that said yes, or they run against the person that said no.
Right.
And some of the best candidates are those, the ones that are like, you know what, screw you, I'm going to take your job and I'm going to make it happen. And how many times have you seen that? It's rare, but it's amazing when it happens. And I think you find, I think people would be hard to not find politics anywhere they go.
Yeah.
Whether it's in charity work or it's in a realty office.
To the office, church, anywhere.
When you're with your friends and you decide what movie you're going to go see.
Right.
That's politics. And so it's everywhere.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you today?
I mean, yeah, there's a lot you haven't asked me.
Well, maybe we'll come back another time and get you. And, but I do appreciate you coming in. I appreciate you being my friend and helping me get elected. And I appreciate what Tom did for me. And we're staying in contact. We share a birthday.
Yep.
It's been a fun podcast.
I told you, it'd be easy.
I've enjoyed this. This is this was one of the least I prepped for, other than just writing down a few questions, and it kind of took on a life of its own. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me, and I'm definitely going to listen more now. I apologize for not listening.
Well, you can always binge as much as you're on the road, but you're on the phone all the time.
Sir.
So before we leave, there's some fun facts I want to tell everybody. I've been watching some of these bowl games. Mm-hmm. And some of the names are just ridiculous. I think there's 47 of them. And
you mean the under the chair table bowl?
Well, it gets better than that. The Cricket Wireless, Bucked Up LA Bowl, IS4S Salute, Staff DNA, 68 Ventures, Xbox, Myrtle Beach Bowl, Union Home Mortgage, Gasparilla Bowl, Famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans, New Orleans Bowl, Scooter's Coffee, Sheridan Hawaii Bowl, Game Above Bowl, Rate Bowl, Serve Pro Bowl, Go Bowling Military, Bad Boy Mowers, Pinstripe Bowl, Wasabi Fenway Bowl, Pop Tarts Bowl, the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl.
Are you kidding me?
That's what got my attention.
I would go to that one.
The Snoop Dogg, the Isleta New Mexico Bowl, Tax Slayer, Kinder's Texas Bowl, J-Lab, Radiance, Liberty Mutual, Valero, ReliaQuest, Tony the Tiger Bowl.
You should do a podcast with someone who's involved with this whole thing with paying college athletes. Again, a political issue.
Right.
But all of this that you're talking about has to do with money and politics.
Right. Well, all this got me thinking is we need to be lobbying for a Todd's Podcast Bowl. So I might need to gear up
I don't think you can lobby for it. I think you just got to stroke a check.
That's true. That's true. Well, as Eli gets rewarded with a Jelly of the Month Club, that's the total budget we have around here. And you got a coffee cup and a deck of cards. So we're going to be trying to do a petition, maybe get a Todd's Podcast Bowl, and I don't think Florida State's going to be in a bowl next year with their dismal record, so maybe we could host that here in Lakeland. Also, a couple of fun facts. Did you know that 1970 and 1925 are as far apart as 1970 and 1915? So if you look back, I know you weren't born in 1970.
Nope.
When were you born, 71?
79.
79. So if you look back and think, wow, 1970 is not that far away. Well, if you look back from 70, you have to go back to 1915 to get to where we are now. Time frame. Yes, that's how long it's been since 1970.
Think about the things that have happened from 1915 to 1970.
Absolutely. And
wow.
Here's a few songs.
Two world wars, by the way.
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. And these are some songs that are 50 years old this year. And they were during 1976.
This is going to be frightening.
When you've heard a lot of them advertising something. These songs are 50 years old. Carry On My Wayward Son with Kansas.
Oh, God.
More Than a Feeling with Boston. Brad Delp was the haunting vocals of Brad Delp. Amazing group. Go Your Own Way, Fleetwood Mac. My buddy Ray Royce, he had a big crush on Stevie Nicks in college. TNT, AC/DC, those boys from down under. Everyone's heard TNT. Magic Man, Ann Wilson.
This is unbelievable.
Powerful vocals, and her sister Nancy, who was shredding on the guitar. The Boys Are Back in Town, Thin Lizzy.
That's 50 years old?
Yes. Hotel California.
Oh, that's my favorite
The Eagles.
song.
And Don't Fear the Reaper from Blue Oyster Cult. And if you can't remember that song, just think of More Cowbell from Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live. But I just kind of wanted to put some of our timelines in perspective. You weren't born then. Eli wasn't born then, but a lot of the world was. And Anthony, I appreciate you coming in and taking some time to do this. Eli, thank you for producing once again. And I hope to hear you and see you next time on Todd's podcast. We look forward to more great adventures together. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you for listening to Todd's podcast. This has been your host, Todd Dantzler. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to rate, review, follow, and subscribe to Todd's podcast on your favorite podcast app. If you have any questions for me, suggestions for future guests, or are interested in sponsorship opportunities for our podcast, please just fill out the contact form on my website, todddantzler.com. I look forward to hearing your questions and feedback, and please take care.